Hey Helldivers, here's an ultra mega quick fast summary of basically what Arrowhead has done to the game to make it better. They reduced the size. The size is now 80% smaller and it's much more easier to install. It is now, let me just double check this. It is now 23 gigabytes or about that. What they did basically was before when they said, oh, we need to duplicate everything because it makes hard drive loading really slow if we've got to load everything individually. That was based off of industry standards, not specific to Helldivers 2. But after partnering with a company called Nixus, or people called Nixus, they reached their goal to compress everything down from 131 gigabytes to 23 gigabytes. That's 85% better. Helldivers 2 doesn't run basically like the entire other industry because it uses Autodesk, and Autodesk runs a bit different to what every other game industry is. Sure, with Unreal Engine and you're using hard drives, it might have to have duplicated data in order for it to be accessed quicker, but Autodesk does it different, apparently. So, you can use this 23 gigabyte bit now. It's in public beta, and all you have to do is go to your library, right-click on Helldivers 2, select Properties, and then go to the Betas tab, and then up at the top of the Beta Participation section, click where it says None, or something else, and then click on prod_slim-01.005.000-slim left square bracket 17112 right square bracket. It might say something different, but it'll be like that, okay? It'll just be a beta there saying Slim. And if you want to opt out of the beta version, and you don't want to do that, you want to have more storage for some reason, you can just go ahead and click None, just in that same area. But yeah, it turns out if you use this while you have a hard drive, your loading times will only increase by a few seconds, not by a few minutes, or by 5 times the amount of an SSD, just a few seconds. Because, again, Helldivers isn't like everyone else, and Helldivers thought they were like everyone else, but Helldivers isn't like everyone else, and it's actually better, apparently. So, feel free to use this right now to help them test it out and tell them any bugs so they can fix it, so they can just deploy this to everyone once it all gets fixed and there's no issues or anything. Because this is the beta, they're just testing it with the public, because this is how you test stuff. And some patch notes from the new update into the Unjust. They added more damage to more weapons, like the P2 Peacemaker, the P1113 Verdict, and the M6C SOCOM pistol, and changes to enemies were basically making the Warstrider, Balespear, and Stalker easier to fight by reducing their ragdoll ability of damaging you. There's a new keybind thing in the settings. There's new unbound weapon keybind options that have been added for quickly swapping weapon functions like changing fire modes or ammo. The intent is to give players easier ease of use, especially for weapons with multiple ammo types like the Holt, autocannon, and the new 1-2 AR. So when you're using the airburst, for example, you can just press a keybind like J on your keyboard or something to swap the fire mode from airburst to flak or something like that. It makes it really, really handy. And here are the optimizations they did. They optimized the lights on automaton visual effects. They optimized the physics of rock assets throughout the game to improve performance. They optimized the way environmental effects such as sandstorms, blizzard, and acid storms apply their static effects for reduced impact on performance. And they improved aim-down sight weapon placement and behavior. They reduced the amount of camera clipping on weapons. They fixed texture details used for weapons while aiming down sights. They improved depth of field when aimed down sights and while scopes are zoomed in. They fixed textures, sometimes appearing low resolution, even when memory was still available. That is for only PC. That last one. There was a bunch of weapon and stratagem fixes that are basically all minor, wouldn't really affect the game that much. Except for this one, fixed a bug that locked stratagems after drowning while holding the stratagem ball. And yeah, factory striders can also no longer fly into the air all crazy and stuff. And hell pods that hit factory striders will no longer remain in the air after the enemy dies. And war striders can now detonate mines, and charges will no longer speed up when exiting a charge, and rupture warriors will not get stuck below sentries anymore. And they've added a medium armored weak spot to the vents on the backside of the bunker, anti-air and mortar emplacements, so that the structures behave similar to other comparable defenses. There's also a bunch of typos throughout these patch notes for the 5.00 update of Into the Unjust. Yeah, you can look at those if you want. Yeah, also, when you have, say someone has 90 FOV and someone has 120 FOV, if that 90 FOV player aims down sights and looks through the scope will be the same visual size as the same for the person on the 120 FOV. You'll still have 120 FOV, it won't zoom in or anything, the scope will just be closer than it would be before this patch, so it'd still be visually the same size on the screen. That's about all I got for you. As always, feel free to read these patch notes yourself, and I'll see you all in the next video when I get back from my little